Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my second video. If you missed out on my first video, it was a foundational class on the Surya Namaskars to help you build an at-home practice for yourself, starting out with the very basics. This class is going to integrate my educational background of astrology as well as asana. So my hopes here for these sorts of videos is to look at what's happening in the astrological world and incorporate it into an asana practice so that we can flow through these transitions or these transits easily and with more peace, more grace, and more love towards others in the world. I figured I would start with the sun. The sun is sort of our basic foundation. We all see it. We all see its path from east to west. And in our astrology, we identify with the sun in what way are we going? Our life path, our soul, our purpose, what we're doing here. Just as the sun moves every single day on the same path, so where our sun is in our chart, we are moving in that way. We are moved towards that. It's the way we perceive things. So the sun today, June 20th, in case you're not watching this on June 20th, is moving into Cancer. So I'd like to incorporate elements of asana that are nurturing, that are motherly, that are a little bit more yin or feminine in character. And the sun, in the way that we are moving, the way we're moving is going to be more fluid. The sign of the crab is a watery sign. So we're going to move with fluidity. We're going to move with grace and with intention in being nurturing towards ourselves as well as others. So if you're down for that, let's meet on our mats. We're going to go ahead and start on our backs here. So lying down, go ahead and push the legs out from under you. Let them be straight, kind of like a savasana pose or corpse pose. Let's clasp either elbow over our head here. And let's start to allow ourselves to be receptive. Yin signs, or more feminine signs, have the qualities of receptiveness. But I think we tend to forsake that. The sign of the crab is one of nurturing, mothering, taking care of, protecting. And we give that all to others or to people outside of us, maybe our children, our family, our friends. And oftentimes where we forsake is that we also need to receive that too. We need to receive the nurturing, the protection, the mothering. So allow yourself to come into a receptive mode here right before practice, knowing that we're practicing to nurture ourselves. And as the sun is moving into this sign this month and going to be there until next month, try to remember coming back to this practice, coming back to the breath, coming back to the movements and the stillness, is all so we can nurture and protect ourselves as well. Remove the embrace that you had on the elbows and start to pull the knees in towards the chest here. Maybe wrapping the arms around the shins or underneath the calves along the thighs. Whatever feels right for you in your practice here. Start to massage out the spine, rocking side to side. Allowing the pull of gravity to engage in a self-massage along the muscles of the spine. Come to stillness. Pull the chin in towards the chest so the flat side of the back of the head is resting on the earth. Keep the knees pulled in towards your heart. And then exhale, release the embrace that you have and allow the feet to come down to the mat. Windshield wiper the knees side to side, dropping the left knee and the right knee towards the right, and then the right and left knee towards the left. Just like windshield wipers, wiping away any stresses we may have had throughout the day, any worries we might have about the upcoming month or week or year. Remembering to just receive the peace that this practice brings to us. Receive the breath moving in and out through the nostrils fluidly without us even thinking about it. Go ahead and come to stillness here. And then let's roll onto our side and start to push ourselves up into tabletop position. Here in tabletop, our hips are directly over the knees and the shoulders are directly over the wrists. Clasp the mat as though you're going to push the palms away from the mat. They probably won't come away, but that's okay. We're just warming the wrist up here by engaging the fingers tightly, allowing everything to become activated in the hands and the wrists and the forearms, and then releasing out. Do that 5 times, really to warm up those wrists. Keep pulling the elbows in towards one another, the inner elbows like they have magnets and they're trying to move in towards one another as you're squeezing the fingers in. Last time. Feel heat arrive in those wrists. And then release. On exhale, arch the spine up towards the ceiling, dropping the head towards the mat. It's not going to reach the mat, but we're just coming into a cat pose here, squeezing the core in towards the spine. And then exhale, allowing the belly to come down towards the earth, lifting the tailbone and the head up, cow pose. Exhale, squeeze the core in towards the spine as you arch the back up towards the ceiling. You're dropping the head. And inhale, allowing that belly to fall, the head to rise, the hips to rise. Moving with your own breath, every exhale, we're going to take a cat position. And every inhale, we're going to take a cow position. Allowing the spine to warm up here. Allowing the spine to receive the breath that we're sending with each movement. Intentionally creating heat so that we can take care of our spines. I read an old yogic philosophy thing once that said that youth is found in the state of our spine. 2 more. And then when you've taken your last one, just come back to center. Tuck the toes. Push your hips up and back, coming into downward facing dog. Maybe the first down dog of the day, so let's walk out the feet. Bending the right knee and then the left. Allowing the hips to sway side to side, maybe even the head. Swaying it, yes, no. Releasing the neck in whatever way works for you. And after a few cycles of these, coming back to center, pressing the palms firmly into the ground as though you're trying to push away gravity. Releasing the crown of the head towards the earth and then checking in with the ears. Do you feel them between both biceps? Come high up onto tiptoes, allowing the hips to come up towards the sky, and then drag those heels back down as though you have anchors connected to the ankles. That's just pulling the heels down towards the earth. They may not touch, or maybe they do. Either way is fine, whatever is a part of your practice today. And then slowly start to step towards your hands. Really exaggerate these stepping movements. Make them as slow as you can. I like to imagine those cartoons that move in slow motion when I'm doing this. And And surrender once you're at the top of the mat, over the thighs. Be generous here in the knees if you need to bend them to protect your low back, to get the belly on the thighs. Just bend into those knees. Nobody's looking, nobody's judging. Hold no judgment towards yourself. Be kind, be loving here. And then maybe clasp either elbow and start to allow your head to dangle down. Another option is to clasp the fingers behind the head and allow your head to just drop into the earth if it were touching the earth, or I don't know, it just feels heavy here as though you just added weight to the back of the head and it's dragging it down. So nice neck release. Moving slow, not necessarily being passive, but just being receptive to the space that's being made in each pose. Not being in a hurry, caring for ourselves, nurturing ourselves here in these poses. Release the hands down to the mat and just take a halfway lift here. So maybe straightening the legs if the knees were bent. Dragging those fingertips up the shins. Nice flat spine. The crown of the head reaches towards the front of the room. And the tailbone reaches towards the back side of the room. On exhale, releasing the hands back down to the mat and shifting the weight into the left foot. Lift the right foot up and place it back behind you. Coming into a high lunge, bend into that left knee and raise all the way up. Maybe bringing the hands to the hips or overhead with palms touching. Check in with yourself. Pull that right hip forward and push the left hip forward, back, in order to square the hips towards the mat. Stay strong here. Strong and steady, just like the path of the sun, moving across the sky. Engage the left glutes, engage the right glute, and then exhale, frame that left foot with both hands and drop the left knee here. The right knee. Exhale, open up that left hamstring by straightening the left leg and shifting the hips over your right knee. You may want to walk that left foot out slightly and tuck the toes up towards your face here. I'm going to stay here for just a few breaths, allowing our hamstrings to create the space we need for the folds, for the surrendering. You can keep your heart high or maybe completely surrender the forehead towards the shin. Check in with yourself. Are your toes still reaching towards your face? Flexed and activated here. And on exhale, start to bend that left knee, placing the foot flat on the mat. Tuck the back toes and rotate that right foot to a 45-degree angle. Windmill the arms up, coming into warrior two. In order to be a nurturer and a protector, we must also be warriors of sorts. A warrior of peace, of love, of kindness, and of diligence. Feel the strength it takes to push into the foot and keep your leg bent like this. Pull that right arm back just to square the shoulders directly over the hips. And your gaze can be out over your left fingertips or maybe out in front of you. Your choice today. On the next exhale, windmill the arms back down to frame that left foot. Pivot the right toes to face the front of the mat. And then start to launch into the left leg, lifting the right leg perpendicular to the mat for a supported warrior three here. Check in with yourself. Look back at your toes. spread them wide and stay strong on this left leg. Exhale that right foot back to meet the left. Standing tall, arms overhead, palms touching, and then exhale the hands to heart center. Take a moment to become aware of the openness you've just created on the left side, the strength, the endurance, and the mobility. Take a moment just to honor yourself and honor your path here in this life. Inhale, arms up. Maybe look up at the thumbs, and then exhale, diving over the hips, hinging from the hip points. Belly to thigh, bending the knees as much as you need for a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Nice straight spine here, flat back. And then start to shift your weight over into the right foot as you lift the left foot up and place it back behind you, bending into the right knee, rising all the way up for high lunge. Remember, we can keep our hands on our hips here, or maybe raise them overhead. Pull that left hip forward and push the right hip back to keep everything square to the top of the mat. And then allow your hips just to sink down. Allow that right thigh to support your weight here. Stay nice and strong. On next exhale, frame the right foot with both hands and drop that left knee down. Let's straighten the right leg, pointing the toes up towards our face. Hips come over the left knee this time. You may need to walk that right foot forward a little bit more. And fill the opening in the hamstrings. Send your breath there. Allow the hamstrings to receive the space we're creating. You can keep your heart high, or maybe you want to surrender over, bringing the forehead down to the shin. On your next inhale, start to bend back into that right knee, placing the right foot flat on the earth. Tuck the back toes, and then rotate that left foot to a 45-degree angle on the mat. Windmill the arms up to warrior two. Check in with the knee. Is it directly over the ankle? Are the shoulders over the hips? The hips and shoulders are open to the side of the mat. And there's weight in the outer edge of that back foot. Allow the hips to sink down into gravity here. And then gaze out over the fingertips or directly out in front of you. Remembering that we always have a choice here in the way that our life is being perceived. Are we allowing ourselves to be cared for? Are we allowing ourselves the time to care for ourselves? On the next exhale, windmilling the arms back down to frame the right foot. Rotate on those back toes, bringing the toes towards the front of the mat by launching into the right leg, lifting that left leg high back behind you, supported warrior three, and then exhaling the left foot to meet the right. Halfway lift here, flat spine, and then exhale, belly to thigh, hinging from the hips, forward fold. Clasp either elbow again, and allow yourself to just become a pendulum here for a moment. One more breath, and then on inhale, rising all the way up, hands overhead, maybe looking up, and exhale, hands through heart center. Let's take a wide step back behind us with our right leg. For a wide leg forward fold, if you need some blocks or books to place under your hands, now would be a really great time to grab them. Inhale the heart high, squeeze the shoulder blades together, squeeze the elbows towards one another, and then exhale, start to hinge from your hip joints here, all the way down, placing the hands wherever is necessary, maybe on some blocks, maybe all the way to the mat, and then release the crown of the head towards the earth. It may touch, it may not. Just know and assure yourself that that is okay. What your practice looks like is perfect for you. What your practice looks like is moved by you. On your next inhale, come to a halfway lift. Maybe placing one of the blocks or books in the center of the mat and placing the right hand down on the mat or on the books. And then inhale the left hand up towards the sky, twisting over towards the left with your torso. Tailbone is reaching towards the back side of the room, and the crown of the head is reaching towards the front side of the room. Exhale, release the left hand right where the right hand is. And inhale the right hand up towards the sky, twisting now over towards the right. Exhale, releasing the hands down to the mat. Taking one more breath here in your halfway lift. And then rising all the way back up. Go ahead and step towards the top of your mat. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, glide back down towards your forward fold. Inhale, undulate the spine up into a halfway lift. And exhale, allow yourself to surrender back over your thighs, moving with your breath. Inhale, undulating the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, gracefully allowing the belly to meet the thighs here. We'll do this 3 more times with our own breath. Nice and fluid, slow and intentional. Last time. And then here in your forward fold, shifting the weight over into the right foot, lift that left foot up and back behind you for your supported warrior 3. And then release the left foot down to the mat, bending into the right knee, lowering the left knee down to the earth, low lunge. Options here in low lunge are to stay here on fingertips, framing the right foot with both hands, allowing the hips to sink low. Check in with your knee. Is it directly over your ankle? Or maybe rising up and clasping right above the knee on the right quadricep, both hands. This is a really nice steady pose here. Feel the foundation below you become strong. The left top of the foot is pressing into the earth, engaging the hamstrings and the glute. And the right foot is pushing gravity away so that your hips can sink lower. Coming into your breath, noticing how even when we're not paying attention to our breath or bringing awareness, it's still entering our bodies to keep us alive, to give us nourishment. On exhale, bring the left hand down inside of the right foot and bend the left knee so that the top of the foot points towards the sky. Reach back behind you with your right hand and grab a hold, if you can, of the left foot on the outside. If this is too much for you, you have options of grabbing a strap, maybe wrapping it around the foot and grabbing a hold of the strap, making it more accessible, or maybe just reaching back to your low back with your right hand and rotating the right shoulder up towards the sky, keeping the left knee bent, engaging the hamstrings. Whichever option is in your practice, feel free to take that and breathe into every feeling that is arising from this twisting hip opener. Release everything back down to the mat, framing the right foot, tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee up, And then bringing the right foot back to meet the left, coming into downward facing dog. Bring your awareness to the left leg right now. Maybe even the right. Do you notice more openness? Does it feel a little stronger after executing those asanas? And then on your next inhale, start to walk your way back up towards your hands. Again, taking your time, bringing fluidity into each movement. Inhale, halfway lift here. Let's undulate the spine again. Exhale, diving over the thighs. Inhale, exaggerating the movement to get our spines flat here. And exhale, diving deep into the thighs with the belly. Last time, inhale and exhale, staying here in the forward fold. Shift the weight over into the left foot, lifting the right up and back behind you, supported warrior 3. And then placing the right foot back behind you slowly, lowering the left knee down. Again, taking the option that is suitable for you, either fingertips here or rising up, allowing your hands to clasp right above the left knee. Feeling strong and steady here in this pose. The right top of foot presses into the mat, engaging the right glute and allowing that hip to sink just a little bit lower into gravity. What we don't want to see is an exaggerated back bend in the low spine here to try to get the hips low. Instead, try to tuck the tailbone under just slightly as your hips sink into the ground. On your next exhale, bringing the right hand inside of that left foot and bending the right knee so that the foot reaches towards the top of the sky. Here you have that option to either hold it here or maybe grabbing a strap and reaching back for the foot, or just reaching back for the foot and pulling it in towards your hip. For a twisting motion, rotate that left shoulder up towards the sky. On exhale, release everything back down, framing that left foot, tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee, and bringing the left foot back to meet the right for downward facing dog. Go ahead and drop to the knees. Pull the big toes to touch and place the top of the feet on the mat as you sit back on your heels. We're going to stay in an active child's pose here. So push the hands into the mat like you're trying to pull the mat apart. Keep the heart lifted. And just breathe into this posture like you're ready to eat or pounce on anything that's going to attack, which we would hope wasn't going to happen. But that's sort of the feeling here, a protector feeling. A feeling of being ready, but also being soft. Go ahead and release the third eye point down to the mat, becoming a little more receptive here in child's pose. Allow your breath to move in and out with the nostrils, and allow your mind to steady here, paying attention to all the points of contact against the earth, the tops of the feet, maybe the ankles, the shins, the knees, the forearms, the hands, the forehead and the nose. And then inhaling all the way back back up. Go ahead and round the spine deep as though you're coming back into your cat pose. Tuck the toes and lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right foot up and exhale the knee in towards the heart. Setting up for pigeon pose, rotate the right shin at a 45-degree angle and place the shin down behind the wrists. Walk that back foot back a little further and sink down into the hips here. If you'd like to go deeper into your pigeon pose, you can bring the shin to a 45-degree angle, a 90-degree angle, perpendicular with the top of the mat. If you want less intensity, pull the heel in towards the left hip point. Bend the left knee and reach back behind you on the inside of that left foot. Again, this is a great place to use a strap and start to pull the left heel in towards the hip. Release it back out, straightening the arm or the strap, and then pull the heel back in towards the hip, bringing some movement into that quadricep and psoas. Straighten the arm out, and then bend, bringing the heel in towards the hip. 2 more times like this. We're also bringing movement into the shoulder as we're straightening and pulling on that heel or that foot. And then release everything back down. Square yourself back out. And then dive over your right calf, releasing the third eye point down to the mat for just a moment. Allowing your breath to move into the rotation that the right hip is making. Receiving this stillness right now. Knowing that we're keeping a good balance of movement and stillness. And really that's what life is about, or what we're aiming towards is a balance between this or that. A balance between nurturing others and nurturing ourselves. Rising back up, pressing into the mat with both hands. Tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, and bring that right leg back to meet the left for downward facing dog. Go ahead and walk it out a little bit. Releasing the right leg from pigeon pose. Coming back into stillness. Bringing your awareness now into the right side. Noticing how that hip feels. Does it feel more receptive, more open? And then inhale the left leg high. Exhaling the knee in towards the heart. Setting up for pigeon on the left side, rotating that shin to a 45-degree or 90-degree angle and placing the shin back behind the wrists. Walk that back leg back and sink the hips down towards the ground here. Staying high in your pigeon, up on fingertips, or maybe bring the hand up onto the thigh. Bend the right knee so that the foot reaches towards the sky, and reach back behind you on the inside of that right foot. Either with your strap or with a hand, start to pull the right heel in towards the hip. And then straighten back out and pull it in. Releasing the quad and the psoas here. Moving at your own pace. Bring movement into the shoulder. External rotation into that left hip. And intentionally breathing into the spaces that feel tight or stuck. Sending your breath as nourishment and rejuvenation to those areas. Last time, release everything back down. Turn to face the top of the mat and start to dive over that left shin. Coming all the way down, third eye rests against the mat, or maybe you're propped up on your forearms. The most important part about our practice is to truly listen to and honor our bodies right where they're at. to prevent injuries, and to further the growth of our mind, our peace, our stillness, and our ability to stay calm in any sort of situation that may bring unrest. On your next inhale, start to lift yourself back up, tucking the back toe, lifting the back knee, and bringing that left foot back to meet the right for downward facing dog. Walk it out. Now coming to stillness here in your downward facing dog, just noticing any sort of feelings that are arising from the hip openers we just did. Maybe you're feeling a sense of ease or maybe difficulties. Remember to pull the breath in through the nostrils, sending it deep down into whatever you're feeling. And then on exhale, releasing any sort of tensions or upset that you may have accrued over the last week or month or even lifetime. Telling yourself that you are here right now. You are here to take care of yourself. You are here to nourish yourself. On your next inhale, look between the hands and drop the knees down towards the mat. Keep the toes tucked, but pull them in together, pulling the knees in together as well. And then sit back on your toes. A toe stretch. Our feet carry us throughout the entire day, carry us throughout our entire life. Sometimes it's easy to neglect the strength it takes for our feet to carry us throughout life. So let's give a little bit of love by stretching out the toes. This can become difficult, so let's distract ourselves a little bit by lifting the left arm up out of the shoulder, and then reaching over towards the right. Maybe even dropping the right hand down towards the ground or on a block for a side stretch. Breathe into the left side body. And then inhale back to center, releasing that left hand down to the mat, or maybe a block or your thigh. Inhale the right hand up, and then reach over towards the left again, placing the left fingertips wherever you need for a side stretch on the right. Breathe into that side body, and then inhale back to center. Releasing the hands down to the mat in front of you and releasing the toes, maybe tapping the tops of the feet against the mat. That feels so good. Good, and make your way to a seated position. We're going to do a forward fold here, so adjust your sit bones so both sit bones are tightly against the earth. Maybe wiggle into it a little bit. And then inhale the arms up. Pull that low belly in and up to create the space needed to hinge over the hips and reach towards the feet. Keep the heart lifting. Move the heart towards the feet. Don't move the head towards the shins. We want to stay nice and flat here, reaching for the feet with our hands, maybe grabbing a hold of the calves or the thighs. Maybe you want to grab a strap and grab hold of the strap, pulling the heart towards the feet here. Feet are flexed, so the toes are pointing up towards your face. And the shoulders are not up, crunching up by the ears, but instead they're drawn down the spine and away from the ears. Heart continues to move forward. Keep the breath moving nice and steady. Keep the gaze on one point here. To steady the gaze is to steady the body, and then is to steady the mind. And bring intention into your breath, pulling your breath deep down into whatever you're feeling. Maybe you feel it in the hamstrings the most. Maybe you feel it in the feet as you're flexing them up towards your face. Or maybe you're feeling it even in the heart. Take one more breath, placing it exactly where you need it to go. And then inhale, start to rise up, maybe using your hands to push you up here. Take a big breath in and then release it out. Place the hands back behind you with the fingertips facing towards the top of the mat. Point the toes. Really try to get those toes down towards the ground. They're not going to make it towards the ground unless you're like really super flexible in the feet. And then press into the mat like you're trying to press gravity away with the hands. And inhale the hips up, lifting high. This is a reverse plank here. You can drop the head back to be supported by the shoulders. We're going to take 2 breaths here. Remember, stay strong and stay steady. Know and rest in your purpose. Exhale, release the hips back down towards the ground. And then bend the knees, placing the feet flat. Grab around the knees and inhale the heart between your knees like you're trying to do a cow pose here in seated position. And then exhale, arch the spine back, holding onto the knees and using them as leverage so you don't just plop back onto the mat. Inhale, pulling on your torso to bring that heart between the knees. Exhale, rolling the spine down, but not allowing it to reach down towards the ground. Inhale, pulling the heart towards the knees. And exhale, again, rounding that spine. Exaggerated movements here. Inhale. Exhale. Last time, inhale. And then exhale. Pulling yourself back towards center. Go ahead and make yourself to a lying position here. Feet are still flat on the mat, knees bent. We're going to do a little bridge just to get our spine moving in the opposite direction here. So planting the feet close to the butt, maybe even reaching down to see if you can't feel the heels with your fingertips. Press the heels into the mat firmly, engaging the hamstrings and the glutes here as you lift your hips towards the sky. Keep pressing into those heels, engaging the inner thighs towards one another and tucking the chin in towards the chest. Maybe from here, walking the shoulders underneath you just a little bit more and clasping the hands underneath. Pulling the fists towards the heels. Keep pressing into those heels, engaging the glutes, engaging our thighs towards one another. And then exhale, releasing everything down one vertebrae at a time, unclasping the hands, and allowing the knees to come forward of the ankles. By the time you reach all the way down, place the knees together, arms overhead, and just breathe into all of the fills. Breathe into the thighs, the quads, the glutes. Breathe into the heart, the spine, the arms. Breathe into the heels and the toes and the arches of the feet. Breathe into the back of the head, into the forehead, and into the neck. Just taking a few moments here to allow all of the space that we created to soak in and saturate us. Allowing, becoming receptive. Offering up gratitude for the nourishment our breath brings us. Offering up gratitude for the nourishment this practice gives us in order to nurture, protect, and love others. Maybe even asking ourselves, what is the meaning of the sun moving through such a nurturing, watery yin sign? the peak of summer. It's the time now, after the longest day of the year, when the days start to become shorter. It's time for fun, for play, and even a little bit of leisure with our families, with our friends, and with each other just as ourselves. Go ahead and start to open the eyes if you had them closed. And start to roll over towards your side, pushing yourself all the way up into a comfortable seated position. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that your summer is as great as any summer could ever be. Make sure that you're taking time to take care of yourself, remembering to come back to breath during trying situations, which we all know family vacations, family time, or even just leisurely activity has the potential of bringing up. Thank you for practice. Namaste.